Happy Sunday to all you Razorback fans out there, as this is another edition of the Inside Arkansas Devotional with your host, John Nabors. It's a little bit later in the afternoon as to when I was going to release this, but I wanted to make sure that I was properly prepared for what not only did we witness last night in Fayetteville, but also to make sure that I had the best even keel and level head in order to discuss something as complex, as emotional, and as confusing as to what we witnessed last night. Folks, Arkansas lost this game 34-10 to the LSU Tigers. There were points where it looked like it may have been in doubt or that it was at least close. It could have been a ball game, but at the end of the day, LSU just put it to Arkansas. No other way to slice it. They scored in every quarter. Arkansas got within one score there in the second half in the early part, but that was about it. It was all she wrote. LSU pretty much dominated in every regard, whether it was the points on the board, total offense, rushing yards, for third down conversions, everything. Everything was all LSU. I can't tell you how disappointed I am in what happened last night. For those of you who watched our Pot of That Nature post-game show, a lot of you probably saw the frustration that I had, as well as so many of you had while in our chat. And I remember going to bed last night and then waking up this morning, and because I think it's always very good to have a good night's sleep, or as much as you can have one after such a performance. But I was puzzled by the fact that this Arkansas team that had momentum, that had made so many improvements, that had the stars aligning for them in order to play really well against LSU, just went about as badly as you could ever encounter or ever even predict. At the worst, I thought Arkansas would lose this game by 7-10 points. This has been a game that Arkansas and LSU have fought to the bitter end each and every time. Times where Arkansas won when they probably shouldn't have, and times when LSU won when they probably shouldn't have. But that wasn't the case today, or last night, I should say. This was all about a team walking in like Arkansas completely and totally unprepared. A team that looked lost and looked like they had been through some sort of sleepwalk for months. As if, the season comes to an end and then they went through fall camp and then boom, they have a game. Like just a quick turnaround, but not a whole lot of practice, not a lot of preparation. They look like a team that was taking the field for the first time as a group. That was the most disappointing thing because the crowd was incredible. It's the fourth largest crowd in Razorback Stadium history. The atmosphere was elite. The noise level, and if you don't believe me, just look at the penalties and the penalty yards that LSU had. Lots of false starts. I feel like that was a lot of it to do to the crowd. All the fans did their part. The fans had gotten excited, pumped up for this particular game because you beat Tennessee a couple weeks ago, a top 5 team, and a team that just beat Alabama yesterday too. A team that you rushed the field against, and you had the bye week. After that, back-to-back night games in your home stadium against top 10 opponents with a bye week in the middle to get everybody healthy. Because if you look at the injury report before this game and leading up to it, this was the healthiest that Arkansas had been probably all season long. Sure, you were still missing Jalen Braxton, but all things considered, the guys that are dinged up, banged up, whatever it may be, This was the time to get him healthy, and you did. Also, with 2 weeks to prepare, it's not like you didn't know who you were going to play. You knew you were going to play the LSU Tigers. You knew you were. And so the bye week should have been spent, and hopefully was spent in some capacity, of rigorous study, film watching, formations, all this stuff. Should have been done. Hopefully was done. But the problem is that if it was done and this was the result, that was a bad way of doing it. But if it wasn't done, it at least makes sense as to why you looked as ill-prepared as you did in this game. I am really disappointed in the offense in particular, because I love Bobby Petrino, and I think he's a great offensive coordinator, and I'm not saying that he's all to blame on this. But the fact that you went up against an LSU team that had problems defensively, a lot of problems. If you just look at the numbers and the statistics, they're one of the lower-end SEC defenses in this conference. And so for a team that's starting to gain their rhythm and get things going and get guys healthy, with that extra week to prepare, you felt like this should have been a time to really take advantage of a defense that you can be successful against. I felt like this was the best offense that Arkansas was going to face going into it, the best quarterback at least, and I think everybody understood that. But on the other side of it, it was one of the lower defenses you had faced in the SEC so far. A&M's better. Tennessee's better. One could make an argument that Auburn might be better, but at least at the same level. But still, there were things about this LSU team, there were weaknesses about this LSU team that you could exploit, and you didn't. From the jump, you looked like a team that was in over your head. The excitement wasn't there. The energy wasn't there. It felt like from the very first drive that LSU had, where they nickeled and dimed you down the field. Little 5-yard passes here and there, whatever. It's just little plays that ended up adding up and leading to a touchdown. And especially when you have it, the team of LSU has second and goal from the 22-yard line, and you give up a run for a touchdown on that play. Seemed like the wind were taken out of any sails that you had. Anything you had. And that was it. Fumbles, an interception, tough plays here and there, bad penalties at times. Just disgusting. A team that looked unprepared. Now, it would have been one thing if Arkansas lost this game to LSU, because LSU's a better team, which I believe they are. They proved it for sure. And they also, when going into the game, I mean, they had it going for them. I think there were ways that Arkansas could win, but they were going to have to play a good game, and they didn't. But the thing is that when you are somebody who wants to believe in something, like a fan believing that this team is better and this team is improving and this team is going to go out and put on a show and put on a performance against a team that you consider a rival with the battle for the Golden Boot, and you have all the time and excitement building up to it, this is the time where you should stand up tall. You don't run from these moments. You don't run from these games. You're not scared of these games because of what could happen. Because, we don't know. We don't know if we're that good. If you want to be a good team, if you want to be a good program, these are the types of games that you dream about. But none of it matters if you are not prepared. You have to be able to prepare for the punch back. You beat Tennessee. So you know what that did in a national landscape especially? It made you very public and everyone very aware that, hey, this is a team that can beat you. So no one's going to overlook you, and LSU was not going to overlook you. So you were going to get their best shot. How do you take their best shot? You gave somebody else, you came in right there at the end and they let their guard down a little bit and you knocked them out, and you had no reason doing that, but you did. But you knew that they were going to come back. You knew that the SEC was going to come back for you and going to play their best game against you. How were you going to be able to take that hit and to counter? We saw it. Arkansas took the hit, and then they just fell down. They cowered because they were not prepared to take the hit. They were not prepared to go out there and to play the game of football the way that they know that they're capable of and the way that they know that is supposed to be played if you want to be able to be successful at a place like Arkansas. All of you know, by listening and watching the Inside Arkansas Devotional, I like to have a little bit of a scriptural type of twist, or at least a comparison and a relation to what this has been about in each particular game. And in this particular game, folks, I could not help but immediately think of the parable of the 10 virgins. If you're not aware of it, just to give you at least a little bit of an understanding of what it's about. You had 5 virgins who were wise, 5 virgins who were foolish, as they say. They were waiting on the bridegroom to come. And they had lights, they had candles lamps to be able to light the way for when the bridegroom arrived. It required oil to keep these lamps, but they didn't know when the bridegroom was going to come. They had no idea, but they were having to make sure that they were ready. Well, the wise virgins, of course, had extra oil to make sure they had all that they needed. The foolish just were like, whatever, we won't do that. And then the bridegroom was arriving. They freaked out. Hey, we need you. Do you have any extra oil? They're like, no, gotta go get your own. By the time they went and got their own, the bridegroom and the wedding had already happened. They were inside and they got shut out. Now, obviously, that is more talking about the kingdom of heaven, so a little bit more serious. But in this particular case, Arkansas was the very foolish 5 virgins. You knew that an LSU team was going to come into town. You knew that they were going to be a team that was going to require you to be on your A game, to be at your best, to be ready for whatever they gave you. You knew that. And how did you respond? You just were there, you showed up, and you're kind of like, oh man, this is serious. Oh, they're really getting after us. This is a real team. We're not ready for this. And then by the time you try to get ready, it was too late. You were in over your head. You were down 3 scores, and there was no coming back from it. You're a team. In order to be a team that can succeed, you have to be prepared for it. And that it is when you have teams in this conference that are not going to overlook you. You cannot be that program. You cannot be that team that just hopes and prays that everybody overlooks you and that's your only chance of winning. You cannot be that way. That is not a sustainable, successful track. You have to be able to handle when people are looking at you on the schedule saying, oh man, this might be a tough game. We're going to have to make sure we're on our A game. You have to be able to handle it to where national pundits, not local, national pundits are talking about you leading up all week long, picking you to have the upset of LSU. College game day going 3 people over here, 3 people over here, thinking that it's right down the middle of 3 people picking LSU, 3 people picking Arkansas. You're not even in the top 25, but people are saying this is a good team. Everyone's gassing you up. And if you can't handle that, if you can't be prepared for that life, for that type of football, for that type of attention, then you don't belong here. You can't handle it. Again, if Arkansas would have lost this game, the message, this isn't the same message that would have been there each and every time, folks. Like, I would not have done this devotional no matter how the game went. If Arkansas lost by 1 point or 50 points, everything's different. So don't misconstrue it. I'm not doing it this way because I just 100% fully expected Arkansas to win. And if they lost, that means they were unprepared. No, it's the way you lost. It was the disappointment that had everything lining up for you to step up. The opportunities were in front of you to step up. And you didn't. You fell short. And you got exposed for it. And now it certainly feels like they're back to square one. You go on the road against Mississippi State this weekend, folks. Mississippi State's not a good football team, but they're getting better. They can beat you. You think they're going to be scared of you? No, because the pressure's on you, Arkansas. You still got Ole Miss. You still got Texas. You still got games in front of you, so the season's not over. But you're 4-3. You're 2-2 in SEC play. I'm hoping that this is a wake-up call. I'm hoping that this is a lesson that can be learned that, hey, you're not all that. You got work to do. No one's going to give you anything. You got to go out and earn it. Mississippi State's going to give you their best shot. Ole Miss is going to give you their best shot. Texas, Missouri, was everybody here on out. You're not running from anybody. You can't just cower and hide and hope that they overlook you. Not happening anymore. You have to be the one that takes it to them. You can't be afraid to be great. Approach the game that way, and you will have success. But don't be afraid to be great. Don't be afraid to be that team. Because the more and more you're afraid of it, the more and more further you'll get away from it. It's as simple as that. I know there's a lot of Razorback fans out there that are hurting today, that are questioning their fandom, they're struggling of reasons why to keep moving forward as a Razorback fan. Well, that's what we're here at Inside Arkansas, what we can help you with. Or maybe there's some of you that have yet to take the journey to fully committing to being a Razorback fan. And even though the path over here may be wide and easy, the path of a Razorback fan is narrow and difficult. But there will be light at the end of the tunnel. There will be that day where it'll feel good. And there will be that day. It'll all be worth it. But no matter what type of fan you are, we can help you, we can guide you, and we'll be here for you. So come forward now as we stand and call the Hawks.